You're welcome to the Gavel. I'm Linda Akibi. On Monday, March 9th, the Senate held a public hearing on the controversial social media bill. The public hearing was intended to get the views of a wide range of people and organizations on the bill, which has been hugely debated in the public sphere. The hearing was well attended. We had activists, public officials, members of civil society organizations, all articulating their views on the bill.
Minority Leader of the Senate.
It's an eagerly anticipated public hearing, drawing people from government, civil rights organizations, pressure groups and concerned Nigerians. The hearing is on the social media bill, which has dominated discussions since it was introduced in the Senate. Surprisingly, some may say the public hearing of the social media bill was very peaceful. This is in contrast to the outrage that greeted the bill when it was introduced in the Senate in 2019. Perhaps the message of the President of the Senate, while declaring the hearing open, was well received.
We need to remember that there are multiple positions on every argument. This implies that we should not just be open-minded and dispassionate, but should be ready to hear the other side, no matter how strong we feel about our own position. It is right to say that information and knowledge grow in an atmosphere of listening and sharing. When we listen, we put ourselves on a better ground to reasonably agree or disagree, because our own understanding would have grown.
A great number of participants at the hearing in the various submissions opposed the social media bill, saying it infringes on human rights as enshrined in the Constitution.
Mr. Chairman, this bill seeks to infringe on human rights, and it's the position of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center that this committee, the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, should entirely discountenance the bill. It is not salvageable, so any talk about amending the provisions of the bill to accommodate the presentations made here today, Mr. Chairman, is certainly not the view of a lot of us who are in this room, and indeed a lot of Nigerians. With laws even existing right now, a lot of us who experience security agencies on the streets, on the road, know the inconveniences, the massive violations of human rights that citizens suffer when policemen, security agencies stop citizens on the street, force them to open their computers, force them to open their phones and extract information without backing of law.
We should be talking about how to fix our constitution through a referendum. Because if we had a constitution that is made for the people and by the people, there is no way, like the South Africans have after apartheid, that we will have a bill like this standing at the People's Building here in Abuja. It would never have been considered. And it would mean that some of the people who have this kind of outdated ideas would never have made it to even our Senate. That is the truth. The final thing I want to say is that this bill is dead. We are here to bury it.
This bill appears to be undefined and misleading as far as it relates to politics as opposed to dealing with internet falsehood. This item, as far as the position of one is concerned, it should be deleted.
In opposing this bill, my organization would like to remind the sponsor of this bill and this Senate committee that Nigeria is a signatory to the African Charter of Peoples and Human Rights. Nigeria is a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and a number of other international conventions and declarations that protect the right to freedom of expression, including freedom of expression online. And what we are saying is that Nigeria, being parties to these international conventions, should not embark on a journey that will negate the essence and principles of these declarations.
In this instance,
But not everyone is against regulating the social media.
The effect of internet falsehood on national security has already been stated by the sponsor of this bill, distinguished Senator Musa. But let me also add that it undermines leadership, It creates chaos and weakens institutions of governance. It can be used to disrupt the economy and create social upheavals. Coming to the military in particular, fake news that targets the military have serious impact on us as an institution, our operations, and personnel welfare. Internet falsehood can threaten unit cohesion, undermine military leadership. We want to say that we welcome this bill for reasons of national security.
Do not tell lies. What doesn't happen, don't say it happened. And this is the problem we're having. The social media, I refuse to be bullied.
The deployment of the infrastructure.
The Nigerian Communications Commission, National Broadcasting Commission, and the Nigerian Law Reform Commission do not take sides, but are strongly against certain parts of the bill.
Some provisions of the bill are already covered in several existing legislations. For example, the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act of 2015 and the Advanced Fee Fraud and Other Fraud-Related Offences Act 2006. There is also the Data Protection Bill, which has been submitted for consideration. And then finally, the bill has general drafting anomalies, such as referring to sections as clauses and making references to words that are alien to the Nigerian jurisprudence.
The bill has given enormous power to the Nigerian Law Enforcement Department, which has been defined in the bill to mean the Nigerian Police Force. There is a need to check the powers donated to this police force in this bill. I'm not going to say the bill is good or is bad, but listen to what is in the submission. The main role of the police is to arrest, investigate, and prosecute offenders in court. The falsehood issue should be a matter for the court to determine as a fact, not for the police. The third point is that Part 3 of the bill contains administrative regulations that may be given by the police, for example, the correction regulation and the stop transmission regulation. The point is we should not be in a hurry to criminalize every action and apply sanction because the police is very occupied and the courts and the prisons are already full.
Most of the participants are hopeful that the large number of dissenting voices at this hearing should possibly influence the recommendations of the committee when it presents its report before the Senate. The House of Representatives is proposing an amendment to the National Youth Service Act to compel youth corps members to be posted as teachers during their service year. Now, this formed part of the resolutions of the House after it dedicated the entire plenary session on Thursday, March 12th, to the issue of out-of-school children. For lawmakers, the problem of the high number of out-of-school children in Nigeria is worrisome and is a ticking time bomb.
On this issue, very fruitful, lengthy discussions. Thank you.
It's not a regular plenary session in the Green Chamber. The 13.2 million out-of-school children aged 6 to 14 in the country is a concern for the House of Representatives and has been listed as the only item on the order paper.
Appearance of education access.
In the Speaker's opening statement, he captures the importance of education.
An enlightened education gives hope and the confidence that through the studied application of the human mind and human ability, individuals can remake their existence and make their world better. Education excellence calls for ongoing curriculum reform and a broad embrace of technology in our schools. At the earliest possible stage of their education, we must begin to equip our young people with the skills they need to thrive in the technocentric new world. It is not enough to build schools if we cannot also provide properly trained, suitably remunerated, and passionately motivated teachers. We have a crisis of not enough teachers across the country today. A crisis so severe that many of the schools we have built are at a risk of becoming empty monuments. This crisis requires of us that we embrace unorthodox thinking and options we never considered before.
Lawmakers describe the situation as an infringement on the fundamental human rights of children.
The parents should be made to be responsible. Let there be sanction for any parents that is found wanting in the area of our children going back to school or being enrolled in the school.
This is very sad, and we are told today 13.2 million of them. I want to emphasize that not one of these children are out of school by choice. None of us had the privilege of choosing our parents or our place of birth. And we know that these children are the recruitment pool for cultism, insurgency, kidnappers, armed robbers, and every form of criminality.
Let's not tell ourselves the truth. As of today, 496 classrooms were destroyed by insurgents. So if 496 classrooms were destroyed, you're talking about 1,332 when you calculate it in all the states. And so that means that the number of children that will be in those classrooms are out of school already. So these people, this number were in schools, but because of insurgents, their schools were destroyed and they're out.
The figure is far more than 13.2 million. But why are they out of school? Is it out of choice? However, in practice, we are dealing with a very crude, wicked capitalist system that is being implemented, concentrating a substantial part of the Nigerian wealth in the hands of few through primitive accumulation, loans that are never paid, embezzlements, and so forth. Trillions are being embezzled. Trillions that can be used effectively to educate those children.
We know there are Almajiri practices in some parts of the north. Mr. Speaker, the Almajiri gives you a models you towards good behavior. It gives you religious education. But Mr. Speaker, we know that it doesn't give you the skills with which you can undertake life's aspirations. It doesn't give you the empowerment with which you can tend to yourself, tend to your parents, and contribute to community. And we need to attend to certain imperfections in our legislation or in our legal system that makes it possible for us at this time of age in 21st century to have 13.2 million people, which has been challenged as a figure out of school.
Also disturbing to the lawmakers is that out of the 13.2 million out-of-school children, 69%, according to a 2018 UNICEF report, are in one part of the country, the north.
What you think is the Almajiri system has been bastardized because of the number that has become so huge that the Malams or the Alaramas are not able to manage. So don't look at it from a negative perspective, please, honorable colleagues.
The lawmakers believe that there are glaring solutions before the country which should not be restricted to the federal government.
If each and every one of us can attend to our out-of-school children in our various constituencies by at least taking some part of our quarterly allowance to sponsor those children that are out of school, that will be resolving and reducing the number of quota that we have.
My first point, Mr. Speaker, is for us to look at the possibility of states granting free education from primary to secondary school.
This House should consider immediately an amendment to the NYSC Act to mandate youth corpers or encourage them on a program of teaching in their year of service.